is Work on Writing, and it usually encompasses this area, but I incorporate anything that we're working on now. So we're doing photo essay, so I've got my book here so they can write about photo essay. We're working on the Pilgrims and Native Americans, so we have worksheets that they can choose from here. Some of them are leveled by challenge, so you can do differentiated instruction. I have books that they can create because we talked about pumpkin life cycles, so they can do poetry writing, adjective writing. They can put the book together, make their own words to go with it. We did the life cycle, so they can review that, and then there's worksheets that go with that. Declarative sentences and detailed writing, extra paper for writing, and then I put out the dictionary so that if they want a word and they can't find it, they can look for it. And then in our writing series, we have these books for the lower grades, and if they open them up, they can find words that they would normally use in writing, and they can pick from that.
Now, when they go to Work on Writing, can they choose from any of these things?
They may choose from anything at all. And I'm trying to add a variety of things every day because I was hearing that we were bored, and I had to explain that bored should not be said in our room because there's lots of different opportunities. You're going to see words up here so they can do their own Thanksgiving writing, or they can reflect on the first Thanksgiving and write with that. Then if you walk over here, we've incorporated all of our curriculum in it. So you've got social studies, and they can write about their community. They can then make their own book about anything here, and so this has lines on it. They can do the retelling story cards that go with our series. I put the words again over here. We made Veterans Day cards, and then we're doing Happy Thanksgiving cards, and we're talking about writing in a series and using commas. I put pens, pencils, markers, gel pens, other writing utensils, because that usually makes it more fun and exciting. If they write about Thanksgiving, then they can do coloring to create their own book as well. And then of course I've got the clipboards and things that they can use here.
So they can get what they need and then go to flexible seating?
It's all, they can stay here, they can go to their desk, they can go anywhere they want to go. Do you want to come back? Okay. This is my daily 3 and daily 2.
You know what, let's do,
so that's different.
Let's do that at the end of the tour.
But they can use some of that for writing as well. I'll come back to that.
Okay.
All right, this is where I meet with the kids, and they also get their iPads for reading with me here. I pull them for small group instruction. I do the phonics reteaching, the skill set for the week, so it's ED ending, so we'll work on that. They also have the phonics booklets that come in their workbook pages, so we'll identify high frequency endings for ED, and then also the long U, super silent E.
So when they get their iPads for listen to reading, where are the headphones?
They are in the pockets behind the chairs, and they know where they're at. They just go and get them. They get their headphones first, because I'm usually helping other kids get their folders, and their folders are over here. I leave them right here. They're daily 5 folders, and I call them 3 or 4 at a time. They pick where they want to go. If they're going to do listen to reading, then they get their headphones and they wait patiently for me, because that's our virtue, is being patient.
Oh, very good.
Gotta incorporate that too. This is another flexible seating area. So I have 2 of the balls in here, carpet. I introduced some more reading books because they're at the point now, if they do read to self or someone, that's a good time that I tell them to check out books that are on their good fit level, so they can switch them out at that point in time. That way they're not asking me during class to do that. They can do that together. And then I've got everything labeled by genres or by leveled for AR.
Now tell me about your chart here.
We haven't started that per se yet, but what I envision doing after Thanksgiving is that they will take their number and tell me where they are, so I can just look back and I know where they are.
Got it.
Now in their folders every day, they put a line through where they are going. Let me show you if something's working right now. So this week, they start off in the morning, they come in, they do daily 5 right away, so I just pick reading or writing and they get started immediately. So Monday, they'd already read, and then they put a slash through where they went to, so read to self, and then he did word work, and then Wednesday he didn't put his, I have to keep reminding him, and that's why I check them at the end of the week to see who's actually complying with it. But I think he was at read with someone, and then today he is at word work, so he just forgot to put it. So let's look at Asher, she's usually better at it. There we go. And then when they come back, they're going to a second rotation. So actually by the time They come back. We will have already done 3. They did the whole group. They all went to work on writing. We did science and social studies writing. And then they did whatever they chose now. And then when they come back from music, they're going to choose another center.
Okay.
So that's how I'm keeping track of it right now. And on Fridays, I erase them and I pull all their work and I staple it, and I can tell what they did in Daily 5. Were they working the whole time? Were they challenged? What kind of product they're giving me? And I went over this last week and I said, you gave me one little piece of paper with 5 words. Were you challenging yourself? And of course they say no. So they know that I'm checking up on them.
And how do you grade this?
I'm not taking
Do
it
you
as
grade
a
it?
grade. It's more as participation right now.
Got it.
We haven't gotten to that point. I
Okay.
would like to eventually, and I think Miss Hart's doing the same thing, putting one paper out that we are collecting from everyone. So by the time they've been to every spot, then we can take it for a grade. Ideally, if I were going to pick something for this week and next week, it would be that community helper, how I work in my community.
Got it.
But then I could tell everyone, you must do that one first and then move on. But I haven't gotten that point because
Okay.
they're
Okay.
still
Yeah.
they're still trying to figure it
Sure,
out because they're little.
sure.
All right, so this is the reading area also with more flexible seating. So I have sponges, and these are great. They're like $3 at Walmart. And then the lap tables. And then over here is where I have my level books, and they have a card in their folder so they can find the good fit books.
And do they have book bags?
Yes, they do. They're in their desk. So if they are going to read to self or with someone, then they take their bag with them, and they can.
Where'd you get those bags?
Mrs. Cross, when she left, she gave them to me,
Nice.
and I kept them for a rainy day.
Nice.
Daily 5. So I put their number on them, and then I've also told them with Daily 5 they can bring books from home. They can bring books to share. So like my Elizabeth brought in Colonial Times because we talked about pilgrims. So we're doing this with writing because that's the theme with Thanksgiving.
Right.
So this is also photo essay because they can go back and they can look at the pictures. We did the KWL chart, and that way they could talk about what they knew about it, what they wanted to know, and then we're going to fill in what we learned by the end of the week. All my skills are up here for reading. And this is my new center I just added. This is religion. So they can come and they can read here and they can write here. So I've got saint books, I've got the rosary, I've got Bible stories, pictures of past popes, things that they can look at. This is a place they actually are all flooding to. I actually have to tell them they can't all come to the same place. And then in here, I put paper for writing because whatever they read or experience, they have to write about it. And then if they finish writing, then there's pictures of saints in here that we've discussed and talked about that they can then color and work on there. And then again, I've got my another photo essay out, so it's like everywhere in the room, everywhere we go. This is WordWork Center, so they can do bananagrams and create the word list. And we're doing, Miss Hart and I, we have our regular word list, and now we're doing a challenge list. On Mondays, we do a pre-test. If you get all the words right, you can maybe miss one, and you are understanding all the skills and show mastery in your workbook pages, then they're given a challenge list. So we're differentiating for spelling tests.
Awesome.
And then we leave both lists here because all the kids should have access to it, because maybe that'll challenge them to get the skill to be in that group the next time.
So do you give the kids who pass the pre-test or master the pre-test, do you give them the challenge words for their spelling test on Friday?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And then everybody else has a regular list. And
Got
I
it.
just do 2 different spelling test times.
That's awesome.
And then that way they're challenged, and some of the words are the same because they're already challenging words like the month of the year. But when we leave them here, that way everyone has access to them to work with them. This is stamps of the word. We're dealing with contractions, so I have the little slide cards so they can make the contractions.
That's fantastic.
And then they have to
Move
write
that
them.
again. There it is. Oh my goodness.
And it checks their work on the back. They have to
Yeah.
check and make sure. But I tell them they just can't do this. They have to have product. I have to see it in their folder that they actually went to this center and worked here. So they have to fill out the paper and put it in their Daily 5 folder when they're
Okay.
done with the center.
So would they write then there is and then theirs? Okay.
Or some of them just writing the actual contraction.
Okay.
I'm not being real strict on that
Right.
because,
Yeah.
some of them may get it, it's already that, and then they're putting it together.
Right.
And I have a little saying that I use, the first word stays the same, the second is a contraction and it must change. And they know that. So they just know, right? The first word stays the same, change the contraction for the next one. And then I actually left my contractions that we're working with up because I told them if you don't know, look, the key is right there and it tells you the answer for what the contraction should be. This is Play-Doh with high frequency words so they can, create the words. They can also do the spelling list. This is Clickety Clack. This is how I taught them to sign in for the lab. They all had to practice their passcode before they went over, so they weren't crying when they got there. So they type out their words, but then they also have to write their words so that I know that they actually did this center. This is Colorful Words, self-explanatory. Definitions of words, so they can use the current spelling list. Fell down. Right. Rainbow Writing, same thing. These are the dice I got from Dollar Tree, and I write the spelling words on them, and then we roll them, and then they have to write the word. And so it mixes it up, and they have to show it. This is the same thing, but then they have to write it on the dry erase board. Both challenge and regular list are here.
I'm looking at your cafe. You're introducing a lot of
yes, and then we talked about this
cafe
today.
strategies.
So I told them, check for understanding. Does it look right? Does it sound right? Does it make sense? Back up and reread, which I model all the time because we all make mistakes when we read aloud. Retelling the story, which I told them they could do in writing. So I bring that back up. Name the author's purpose, which has been a difficult one because they don't always get what the reason was that the author wrote that story. So we're really working on that. Cross-checking for their accuracy for words. Playing with rhyming words, we're doing that in our workbook pages, but then I also ask them to do that in the centers as well. Good fit books, practice and reread again, and listening for interesting words. And we went over those today. Over here, this is word work also. They take their reading packet with them, and that way they have all the words, so I don't have to keep recreating the word list every week. So they can do magnet letters. And there's 2 different kinds. I just introduced this today so that they can make a word using the beads, and they can actually create a sentence if they want to as a challenge. And I put 2 at this one today since it's new, so they could be working together. High frequency words and sentence building here. These are word families, so they can find the picture, and then they can create them. And then I keep past lists here also, so they can go back and work from those lists without having to ask me about them. And then these are skills that we've already taught, and I've showed them how to do it. They can take it out and see, okay, how do I do this? I'm going to highlight the sound, final consonant, and the high frequency words. And so they'll do that, and then there's samples in here that they can pull from to work from. And then, like, this is flexible if they want to stand. Sometimes they go underneath to read because it's like a tent, so I use that as well. It was like one of my desks, but every time I make a desk for me, I keep taking it away and just giving the space to
Right. Can I ask you how you keep everything so organized?
Because it's my nature. And I make them clean up.
Okay.
Every day. But I like it to be neat and orderly. That's just my personality. So I go around and make sure it's cleaned up every day, or I send them back.
So tell me how you're doing the math 3.
Math 3. Okay. So daily 3 math. Ms. Hart and I just decided to do it because if we're doing daily 5, we're like, oh, we might as well just do daily 3 too. We don't always get to this as often as the reading right now, but I'm hoping in time we will.
Sure.
A lot of it is getting them to buy in, show me what you know and master the worksheet, and then we move to this. So this for math is work by myself, math writing, and math with someone. So the one that they're doing the most right now, the 2, are math by myself because some of these centers are just one-on-one, or they're doing math with someone, so they're playing games. So I've got like filling in the chart for the missing number, twist and tally, safety sums with dice, and all these boxes that someone threw away, I grab them and put their supplies in. Anagrams where they can create the picture and make their own. Recess relay, this is 10 frames. So they have 10 frames in there. This is puzzles with math, math fluency, measure around the room. They love this one because they can measure the entire room with anything. And there's tape measures in here, so they're going around and measuring each other. Yeah. They're measuring around the ball. I mean, because we did that with pumpkins. When we had pumpkins, we did circumference. And Mrs. Smith had a scale, so we brought that in and we measured all of our pumpkins as well. And then this down here, this is with Saxon math. The math, I call them the math mummies in there in their sleeping bags, so they have to put them back in. Or they can get this to work independently or with someone else. This is
And are those addition and subtraction?
addition, subtraction, yes.
Yes. Okay.
The other grades might have multiplication
Yes.
on it. This is the dice where they'll roll too, and I like it. I saw this on Pinterest, so the dice don't go rolling everywhere. And so they'll get the two parts, part plus a part equals a whole, which I'm already teaching them. Then they'll make the addition on the paper, and then they make a line. And whichever number wins first, that's the winner of the game. We did this whole group, and then I introduced it into the center. And then this is also math fluency, pattern blocks. This is kind of like Legos. By the time they can make patterns, they can count them. Use addition and subtraction with that also. And then I don't know if there's a daily two, but I just call it daily two because I'm
Okay.
like, if I'm gonna do all the other subjects, I might as well do
Right.
science and social studies. So I've got a Center for Science and Social Studies also. And we made daily, because there are daily 3 math folders, so they look like that, and they cross through where they've gone to. And then eventually we want them to get to this point, but we put it in there so they start seeing it
Right,
and
right.
talking about it. So in here I have science, like I found this book someone was throwing away, said for free. And I have hand magnifying glasses so they can get up close and look at like whatever this is right here, germs and lots of interesting things. And they can also write about this too. So I tell them that they can come here for daily 5 also because they can read and then write about it and tell what they explored. We've already had live butterflies in here, so we have butterfly life cycle, which I just introduced today. They haven't seen this yet, so this will be new. And there's a felt board for them to do the cycle, and then there's words to go with it. And then we're working on plants right now, and so I'll do this today with science and show it to them so that they can then replicate it here. And then I found big books. And then their math bins for manipulatives when they need it are there. And they also have science books and social studies books that they can pull from to read and write about. And then what I tell them on Fun Friday, I tell them first it was daily 5, now it's daily 8, now it's daily 10. It's daily 10, you can do any of the centers you want to do. And they get like super excited because they can go anywhere they want to go. I haven't taught this yet or this, but I'm going to hook this up so it stays here so they can measure the temperature and the magic scale we have to work with in a calculator.
Well, thank you so much, Miss
You're
Seaman,
welcome.
for a tour of your classroom.